Welcome, educators. Whether you are a spreadsheet, dashboard, all things data fanatic like myself, or you break out into a cold sweat just hearing the words data meeting, it's okay. I've got you. My name is Jessica Lane, and I'm your host for this podcast, Data in Education. I'm also the founder of Data Informed Impact, where I work with schools and educators all over to get rid of some of that overwhelm and make things a little bit easier for them to make the best decisions for their students. We'll be talking about all things data culture, data literacy, and data visualization. Let's get started. Welcome back to Data in Education. My guest today joins me in the belief that data isn't just about spreadsheets and bar graphs. It's about real human beings with personal stories. Today I'm joined by Emma Dukhovny, an English language learner teacher, ELL, and the administrator for the Teachers of ELL's group on Facebook that I will be joining very soon because it sounds amazing. You can also catch her posting educational content on TikTok and Instagram. But overall, she's all about making data work smarter, not harder, so we can see the full picture and truly meet the needs of our diverse learners. Welcome, Emma.
Thank you so much, Jessica. Thank you for having me in your program, in your podcast. I am blessed. Thank you. Thank you, listeners, and thank you, viewers. Nice to meet you all.
Yeah, I'm so excited to have you. So I gave a very brief overview of what you're doing right now, but I'd love a little bit more information about your background.
Absolutely. I'm an old lady who swallowed a fly. I don't know why she swallowed the fly. I've been a employee. I served in New York City Department of Education for over 25 years. I served some of the most challenging to teach students, the English language learners, and supported teachers, families, and school communities in many different capacities. Some are data specialist, professional developer, testing coordinator, compliance, and Title III program coordinator. You can go on and on and on and on. I've done it all. But my most favorite role is, and I think will always be, is that of a teacher of English language learners. I am an English language learner myself. I'm an immigrant child. My family had a very difficult, I must say, challenging story, challenging journey, becoming an American. And it was a dream. And it's here. It's in my heart. It's in my mind. It will never go away. That's why my passion and my passion is helping teachers grow their knowledge, skills, and pedagogy so they can become experts and master educators, and they can help their students succeed in school and in life. Because that's what I was fortunate enough to have amazing teachers who believed in me, who saw me for who I was, and they inspired me to be where I am right now. So my goal is to support the teachers, to equip teachers with a toolbox of best practices and resources so they can support their English language learners, and not only the English language learners, all students, and open the world of opportunities that these children deserve. So that's about me.
Yeah, and that's such an important job. I often think about how terrifying it would be, even as an adult, to be in a space where you don't know, you have trouble communicating with the people around you, and you feel like, an outsider, and then to experience that as a child, like I just cannot imagine the additional layers of like stress and just things to think about on a regular basis. So um I appreciate the work that you're doing. And like you said, it not only is a huge benefit to those students who are learning English, but also a huge benefit to all students to have those
Absolutely.
strategies. So, um, big props to you. That's amazing work. So so appreciative of what you're doing.
Thank you.
And so if we think about your experience with data throughout all of this, I'd love to hear like how have you used data? Are you a fan? When did you become a fan if you are? Tell me your story about data.
Of course, I have a personal story. Data, data, tomato, tomato,
Ha,
potato,
yes.
potato.
I should start asking people when they join on the podcast, is it data or is it data? I did that at I had the virtual summit that I put on a couple times a year, and at the one in June, I we did a competition where people could fill out a form for all the presenters as to whether or not they said data or data.
Oh, another piece of data collected.
Yep, exactly.
Perception. Well, uh, as a young teacher, as a teacher who just started out brand new out of college, by the way, they do not teach teachers how to gather data, how to collect data, how to interpret data, and what to do with the data and what kind of data. Teachers are not being taught in college. It's a big misfortune, I must say, on our brand new teachers, our new teachers workforce. I think this must be taught in colleges.
Yeah,
When I came into the school building, first day, I had a stack of documents and I was told, here's the data. You need to analyze the data because in 2 days you're going to have your students coming. So plan with data in mind. That phrase, plan with data in mind, and then there was another phrase, data driven instruction. There was so much
yeah,
terminology thrown at me. I was not only confused, I was petrified. I was so scared. And I understand how our teachers feel because in our system right now, we shovel through so much different kinds of data.
yeah,
It's overwhelming for teachers. There must be an easier way because teacher burnout is a real thing. And my vision of a teacher is teachers are angels in disguise. We need to hold on to amazing teachers. We need to make teachers' lives easier, not harder.
yep,
So when teachers hear the word data, data, they cringe.
yes,
There's so much different kind of information that teachers have to collect, analyze, look at trends and patterns, and then come up with a plan of action. Data is presented in so many ways. Bar graphs, Excel sheets full of numbers, pie charts, endless tally marks. All these can be super overwhelming and scary.
yep,
So the way data is presented, it's very formal, right? It lacks personal or emotional connection. But teachers should not fear data. So hopefully today, you and I, as experts, we could kind of ease our teachers' feelings about data and say, it's okay, it's okay. Data, potato, potato, tomato, tomato. Just think about that. Data is just information from many different kinds of sources. And we're going to kind of open your mind to data and say, it's not difficult at all. Just
yeah,
we're going to teach you a few small but very practical tips, right? How to
yes,
navigate through all this mountain, right? That it's on our shoulders. When
yes,
done smartly, right? Work smarter, not harder.
right,
Data can help teachers drive instruction and not only instruction. Today, I want to touch base on this point, very important point, data-driven instruction, right? Because we want our children to be successful and provide valuable information about gaps, areas of celebration, and the next steps to make improvements, right? So what are we going
Yeah.
to do with the data? What's the purpose? Like, why are we doing this? So as a data expert, I always recommend to look at different kinds of sources of data. We're going to talk about in a little bit about the triangulation of
Yeah.
data. So
Right.
that's all, folks. Data, tomato, potato. That's how I want you to think about it. So you have a smile on your face and you have positive feelings about this terminology and this word data. It's a big one.
Yeah.
Especially when
You
it's written in all capitals.
yes. You touched on three very important things.
Yes,
And it's kind of like what all of my data consulting centers around is first that data culture. So not feeling overwhelmed, given the making sure that you're connecting the numbers to the stories of the students and the stories of the teachers even, and making sure that like yes, we're data informed, but we're also people driven. Like that's why we're in the roles that we're in, is because we care about people, we care about these kids.
I
um
agree with you 1,000%.
yes,
I
and then
agree
data
with you.
literacy is all about trying to get that momentum and starting small instead of being overwhelmed by chaos and all of the numbers all over the place, focusing on those tiny data cycles and making sure that again, we're starting very small. And
Yes.
then the third one that
Baby
I
steps.
yes, baby steps. I talk about data culture, data literacy, and then data visualization. And when we talk about data visualization, we're talking about presenting data in a way that helps bring clarity to the numbers instead of handing you a stack of papers or a spreadsheet or even a dashboard with a million graphs and charts over it all over
Yeah.
it. We're focusing on the data that we need at that time, as opposed to I talk about it being just in case data versus just in time data. So if we're looking at just in time data, we're really focused on the data that is actionable in that moment. Just in
Absolutely.
case data means, oh, here's some data just in case. Here's some data just in case. Here's some data just in case. And that's what leads to that overwhelm, right? That's what leads to that chaos.
Things are not connected. It's a
Not
disconnection.
connected. It's
Teachers need simplicity. We need simplicity in our lives. Nobody wants extra
yes.
stress.
Oh my goodness. On top of everything else, that's
Simplicity and
not.
clarity. Simplicity, clarity, and connection. Everybody
yes.
else is aware of what they're doing, why they're doing it, and what is the purpose of it, and what's the next step.
Right. Right, absolutely. And you touched on all of those points so beautifully. It's I used to work in purely data visualization and creating systems, and what I learned was that the dashboards, the systems, those spreadsheets, they don't mean anything unless it's connected to real people and unless you have a reason to be going through those data cycles. So, very well said. Um, and so if we're talking about, I know you mentioned, we do have questions for the viewers slash listeners. I prepare some questions. Sometimes I stick to them. Sometimes I get way off
Yeah,
base.
we
But
love
yeah, no.
questions. We love
but
questions.
but you hinted at different data sources, so I want to touch on triangulation because that's something that is so incredibly important, and something that we talk a lot about in education, but it's not something that I think I've talked about on this podcast. So I'd love to hear about your experience with how triangulation helps, what that means for school leaders, what that means for teachers, and how that helps look at your whole child or your whole school.
Absolutely. So the word triangulation is not a new term. And sometimes when teachers hear you need to triangulate data, they really don't know what it means.
Hmm.
As a data expert, I always recommend to look at various sources of information and provide valuable information about gaps, as I mentioned, right? We need to know what is it that our students are not doing well, right? Because
Right.
that is going to be our problem of practice, right? We will need to make improvements to it. We also get information about areas of celebration, right? Yay, our children did
Yep.
this. And the next steps, as we mentioned, to make improvements. So I always recommend to look at many different kinds of sources, right? The word triangulate, I'm going to explain it in a super easy way, right? So that no one gets overwhelmed. Triangulation is another podcast for us, right? It's like a black hole.
Yes.
But in super simple terms, right? It means that when we look at several sources of data, right, from various assessments, for example, hard data and observations, formative assessments, we are able to go deeper and look at how this information is interconnected and related, right? We want to see a
Yes.
big picture. So that's why it's always effective to have these data-driven conversations with people, with your team, right?
Yeah.
With other experts in different areas and different fields, which we also are going to discuss later, right? If you wish, or would you like me to speak about it right now?
You
So
can go
I,
ahead. Go for
so
it.
for the triangulating data, I just want to, I'm a visual learner, right? I would like to see things. So I'm going to give you a simple example of triangulating data, right? Like I'm going to lean on my
Yeah.
notes. For example, we look at we look at our information, we sit down and say, all right, so reading, we need to improve reading with this specific focus group of students, right? We
Yep.
look at our chart and see, oh, mamma mia, pizzeria, green, 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 red, 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 yellow, 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 right? I'm a
Mhm.
color coded person. Then we say, so what am I going to do with this information? I have my red flags. Some of my students, right, are not performing as much as they can, right? They're not reaching their capacity. We're going to have these children as a focus group, right? Now, for example, reading, right? We have in New York, we have Acadians data, we have spelling inventory, we have map assessments, we have iReady assessments, if whatever schools have used it in the
Yep.
past. We have formative assessments. We also have a state ELA exam, and we do, as teachers, item skill analysis to see which questions and which
Yes.
standards our students have not mastered or mastered. So we take all of these important reading assessments, right? Because they all measure different things, right? And
Right.
we are making a connection. If you want your students to be excellent readers, what is required? They need to learn how to read. Remember how in early grades we teach children to read, right? And
Yep.
then in higher grades, children read to learn, right?
Yes.
So that's across the grades, it doesn't matter, especially when you have kids who are struggling and when you have children who just come to your school fresh from another country, they don't speak the language, or maybe they do speak and understand a little bit. We need to assess them, right? And we need to figure out what exactly, we need to pinpoint what is exactly happening with these children. Where are they right now? Because we will need to meet their needs. Where
Yes.
are they right now? So these assessments, this data is going to open this big picture for us, right? We take these connections and then we analyze it. We look at what is it showing. Then we look at what are the root causes, right? Why is this
Yep.
happening? What is up to us? Because certain things are not up to us as much as we want to, because we teach as teachers, we wear so many hats, right? We are caregivers, we are class mothers, we give love, we support and we protect our children. There's so many things that are happening, right, with us. So some things are not within our control. We need to look at what is within our control. And if something is not within our control, maybe we could reach out to other people for support, right? Because you
Yes.
never work alone. You're never alone. We are never alone. We're always a team, right? We're always partnering
Yeah.
up,
So,
collaborating. So you
excuse
have the
me.
data, you already identified the root causes, and now you need to make specific steps to make improvements, right? Now, what are we going to do with these findings right now? Who is going to do what, right? That's
Hmm.
why when you are triangulating data and you are looking at data, never alone, but with a group of people who are experts in their own fields.
Yes.
For example, an IEP teacher, an ELL teacher, an admin, absolutely, school admin, maybe several, right? Assistant principals, deans. Some people say do not include gym teachers and cluster teachers. I say absolutely include them.
Right.
Because there was a moment in my life when we looked at a specific group of children, right? And we needed to make improvements. When we got to the last column in our template, right? Like next steps. What are we going to stop doing because it's not working? What are we going to start doing because that will be our next steps? And what are we going to continue doing because it shows positive results, right?
Right.
We discussed many different things: reading, phonics, special education, formal education, that was lack of formal education, that the family was illiterate. There were so many different things. Another problem was that our children are not reading. So if you're not reading, you're not practicing your reading skills. I mean, if you want to get better at cooking, you need to start making mistakes with those pancakes, right? Same
I
thing with
guess.
learning.
I don't want to cook, but if I have to make pancakes to get there, I guess I will.
So we are noticing as educators, we're noticing that especially after COVID, right? Especially after our children were forced and we were forced to
Yeah.
direct our attention to the screen, right? Children
Yep.
stopped using genuine, authentic text to have experience with the words and turning pages and making little notes on the margins and really leaning back on text and just enjoying reading, enjoying literature.
Right.
Children are not reading. So if they're not reading, and also where do you have space, enough, adequate space, right? Time in our flow of the day in our curriculum for children to read, to practice their reading skills, right?
Yeah.
As a teacher, we always ask these questions. So when do you want my children to practice? I have to do, uh, jump, run. Curriculum is so fast. Let's go, let's go. Whoa.
Yeah.
So we could discuss best practices to tackle this issue at another time because there is a will, there is a way, there is a will, there
Yeah.
is a way,
Right.
right? So, and then I said, "Oh my God, what did I just observe?" Right, my formative observations as a teacher I was making because I love my kids. I want my kids to be successful. I want them to be happy. So I am interested genuinely in their lives.
Yeah.
And when I was doing another kind of assessment, right, another kind of data was a survey. I was surveying my students' likes and dislikes, preferences,
Hmm.
as well as there was another survey for the families because I needed to know everything, whole child, right? As teachers, we need to learn, right?
Yeah.
Are my students learn about your whole child? And then I saw this three boys because that's another piece of data, your demographics, right?
Yep.
Culture, language, boys, girls, Hispanic, the nationality, many listen, I speak five languages, right? I have five languages in my family. So I'm not a monolingual. I'm not a bilingual. I'm multilingual,
Right.
MLL, right? And we have children like this. We
Yeah.
have children. So I had a group of children, a group of boys in fourth grade, and we tried many different things to help them. And then I said, I saw these children having so much fun and trying to articulate themselves and speak with other children at gym when they were playing soccer. Because in their country, soccer is a favorite sport, right?
Make
So
them
I
feel
went
at
to the
home.
gym
Yeah.
teacher. I went to the gym teacher, an amazing, a friend of mine. All of my teachers are my friends. I love them. They're angels in disguise. They
Hmm.
make a difference in children's lives. I went to him and I said, what are your observations on these students? Right? Because in reading, they're silent. In writing, nada. In
Hmm.
math, poquito, right?
Right.
And then he said, "Oh, they love soccer. They take the lead. They teach other children." And I said, hooray, Eureka! Maybe if soccer is a topic of interest, we can create a little library for these children to start reading books about famous soccer players,
Hmm.
maybe famous players, soccer players from their country. And then we went further and we created a success criteria for writing, right? And my success criteria, our success criteria included two most famous soccer players. You know who they are, right?
I'm
Who
so
are
bad with
the,
this.
come on, who are the two most
Chris,
famous soccer
isn't it
players?
Christian
Ronaldo and
Ronaldo? Yes.
Messi,
Yes.
right? So my success criteria for top, right? If you want to be Ronaldo, you need to do this. You need to know how to do this, and this. If you want to be Messi, what kind of like 3 points, 2 points, 1 point, right? Kind of like, right? Four, three,
Yeah.
two. So kids, the kids were owning their learning. They came up with their own success criteria. They came up with their own targeted vocabulary. It was so much fun. Children were empowered, right? We
Yeah.
went deeper. We did not look only at that little box that says reading scores, phonics, right? Or comprehension or vocabulary building. We went deeper and we opened this whoa learning experience. Oh my goodness. We gave them laptops. They created PowerPoints about famous soccer players, reading and writing. They
Yeah.
had show and tell because they brought their soccer balls, and they had the little pictures of their flags from their country. And it went deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And these children were able to improve their oral language skills, build academic and social vocabulary, targeted words. They started having friends. They started being happy.
Yeah.
They were smiling. They loved school. Make a difference. So data makes difference. And people who are involved in these conversations make a difference because we all look at different information from our lens. I look at it as an English language learner specialist, right? Teacher, right?
Yep.
Somebody else looks at it as a special education teacher because special ed teachers are fantastic with their best
Hmm.
practices. The gym teacher looked at this data from his or her perspective, right? Oh
Yeah.
my goodness, the power is in teams.
Oh,
Teamwork
yes.
makes the dream work. Teamwork makes the dream work. That's my favorite saying.
You just hit on so many good points. And I was trying to keep a list in my brain to help summarize, but First, you talked about having multiple data sources so that you can really pinpoint that root cause, which is so important. Like, yes, you may see that they're struggling with a specific subject on the state assessment. And then maybe on the diagnostic, you see, oh, it's actually coming from this specific domain. So is it phonics? Is it comprehension? What is it? And then you bring in all of that additional data about who they are as a human being, and you can really nail down what that root cause is and what kind of action steps might come from that. And the one of the things that I talk about so often is the power of collaboration and the power of getting people together to talk about data, because you're so right in the fact that um, having different perspectives when it comes to looking at that data is so important. You may think,
Different
oh, it's
perspective. Yes, different
yes,
perspective, different lens.
yes,
It allows
absolutely.
us to go deeper and dive deeper into this data because
Right.
we don't want to look at information superficially.
Yeah.
If we really want to make a difference, we need to look at the whole child. We need to
Yes.
interview the family. We need to create opportunities for the children and the families to be a part of educational process because
Yeah,
there's
right.
so much information they could bring to us. And we're always partners in learning, right? It takes a village to raise a child. We can never do it by ourselves alone.
Yeah. Yeah, making sure that we're focusing on that connection, whether it's the connection to our families, to our communities, the connection amongst each other and that collaboration. There's so much that goes into education and into teaching a student, because we are talking about little humans. Like, they're all completely different. We don't have a formula. There's no magic pill that we have for teaching students. So, making sure that we're taking that into account and bringing in all those different perspectives and people with all those different lenses is such a huge benefit to making sure that we're truly supporting that whole child. So, so well said.
Thank
Um,
you. Yeah.
there is a story that that you had mentioned before about the seasoned teacher, and I want to make sure that we get this story in here because I think that it's a great example of someone um who is a great teacher and still a little bit hesitant when it comes to data.
Yeah. It's a personal story. When I go to support teachers, I love building relationships because
Absolutely.
when you make a connection and they can trust you, we can trust each other, everyone is vested and everything becomes a shared value, right? A shared value. I have made a connection with an amazing group of teachers. Um, and every time I would go to work with them and support them, we would always start talking about families and little challenges and also about a lot of celebrations, that things that we have planned are working, right? Kind of like
Mhm.
system of monitoring. And I noticed I'm a very perceptive person, and I noticed that she wasn't smiling. I
Mhm.
noticed that there was pain in her, and she was kind of crying. And I we went outside. We sat down. I said, "Is everything okay? I can't recognize you." Teachers need to be happy to raise and grow happy children, right? What's the
Yep.
saying? Happy wife, happy life.
Happy teacher, happy students. There you go.
Happy teachers, happy students, happy families,
Yes.
and productive, effective, successful academically, socially, emotionally. So I needed her mind to be happy. I needed her to come to the session with an open mind and an open heart, and it wasn't there yet. So I needed to do my magic. And she said, Emma, I know I can trust you. Something happened. And we're talking about a seasoned teacher. We're talking about a teacher who has been in the system for many, many years. But it could happen to anyone. So I said, what's going on? She said, I received a negative review on my students because their reading scores were very low. I did not expect that, she said. And I said, well, let's look at your data. Let's take a look. So when we look deeply into what really stands behind the numbers, and we realized that the majority of her students were newcomer English language learners who needed oral language development and foundational literacy skills such as phonics, vocabulary, comprehension, simple things, visuals, labeling. And I said, well, it's not only the numbers, it's what's behind the numbers, right? What there are people behind the numbers. There are real children behind them. And you also, you're a real person. So what we discussed, right, as educators and data specialists, we need to have cultural awareness, right? And cultural competency when it comes to looking at data, because one size does not fit all.
Yep.
You receive this data, do not look at it as all. No, right? One size does not fit all. You need to really understand what is happening with these children and these children's lives, socially, emotionally, academically, and outside when they're home. Real lives, real life experiences. So as educators and as data specialists, right, we need to have these skills. We need to have this awareness. We need to have this competency, this knowledge base before looking at numbers. The lives and futures of these children are in our hands, and we as educators can either make them or we can break them. So learning how to understand data is, and what to do with it is not a choice, right? It's an expectation, it's a responsibility. So my pledge, right, to this teacher, I said, I'm taking you by your hand. Everything is going to be okay. Let's have a conversation. We need to communicate, right? And we all sat down, we discussed, and we just made next steps, right? We needed an action, how to shift things around, how to make improvements. This teacher, all she needed is a refresher course on best practices, ELL practices. She needed support. She
Yep.
was there alone doing it, right? So we connected her with English language learner specialists in the district and the ELL department in the school building, who are amazing. They are have wealth of information. They all work together. We
Mm-hmm.
even shifted the schedule, right? And we had the teachers of ELS, ELL teachers, come into the classroom, right? To push into the classroom so they could collaborate, collaborative team teaching. And they planned together, they created tools, resources, they differentiated curriculum together to meet the needs of these children. And wow, the end result was the teacher was empowered, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
building capacity. So we built capacity. She knew what she was doing. She wasn't scared and she wasn't lonely and she wasn't overwhelmed anymore. And it was continuous. It wasn't just one time deal. It was ongoing. And then we also started taking data across the building. And we also realized that she was not the only one. There were many other teachers who were in the same situation. That's why we as administrators, as specialists, academic support specialists, right? We look at many different kinds of data, and we really sit down and we make sense of it. So that's
Yeah.
my story. It was a positive story, and it had a positive outcome, and that's what's most important. Everyone was the winner.
Yes.
The children
Yes.
were the winners, the teacher was, and the teachers, and the mentality, right? There was a shift of mentality in the building. We just
Yep.
lifted it up one step higher. I
Yeah,
think
and
it's
what you
the
guys
best
did
story.
was, yeah, you really, really tapped into that data literacy. And so like I like to chunk it into like three different sections, and of course it turns into cycles. But one, understanding the data. And it sounds like she understood what the data was saying, but the next step is to ask the right questions. You understand, and then you ask. You try to figure out what's going on here because those numbers by themselves don't mean anything. You have to take into account the additional context. And I think so often as like administrators or even like at the district level, a lot of times we try to present numbers as if they tell the whole story. And then when teachers butt up against it, we get defensive and we say, no, but this is what the numbers say. Instead of just saying, you're right, what else do we need to know? Tell me everything that's not shown in these numbers because there is so much information that we don't have when we're looking at just the numbers. So being able to ask those questions and then being able to act on them, coming up with some kind of plan, because having that plan helps you connect your actions to the impact. You're seeing that what you're doing is having an impact on the numbers, and that's where you get
Absolutely.
that momentum. That's what
Absolutely.
makes you keep
And
going.
it's a cycle. We are
Yeah.
monitoring. We're going back
Yep.
to it. It's not a one-time deal, as we said. It's a
Right.
cycle, right? We come back to it. We come back to it. We look at things, what's working, what's not working, what are we going to do about it? And how are we going to do about it? And who's going to do what? And
Yeah.
then we come back again. It's cycles, cycles.
Yep.
Before
Yep.
big, like we have beginning of the school year, we have BOY, right? Beginning of year, middle of the year, end of the year, like three major
Mhm.
stops. But we have more stops, right? Every
Absolutely.
month or every 3 months, 2 months, we reassess. We reassess our students consistently, right?
Yeah.
And then we ask the same questions. Where are they now? Where do they need to be? And how are they going to get there?
Right.
And the children need to be asking themselves these questions too.
Yes. Yes. That's a big part of it too. And I would love to, I'm going to have you come back another time because it's so funny. I can always tell how interested I am in the conversation by how close I get to the screen. Like I see my face getting bigger and bigger. It's like, oh my God, tell me more. So we'll go ahead and wrap up for today, and then you're definitely gonna have to come back eventually because
Oh,
yeah,
I would love
we have a
that.
lot
Thank you.
more to talk about. But for now, I'd love to kind of let the listeners know we talked a little bit about your Facebook group, but and I will make sure that I put that in the show notes. How else can listeners get a hold of you if they're not on Facebook?
Surely, absolutely. And I would love that because we are building a community, right? It is
Absolutely.
not about me, guys. It's not about me. Believe me. I'm a genuine person. Here I am. I'm a real person, right?
Same.
Uh, it is
We're all
about,
just real people.
that's why I connected with you so quickly, Jessica. I have a new friend. Oh, amazing.
Yes.
New partner in life. Super amazing.
Yes.
To reach me is very easy. Join us on Facebook or TikTok or Instagram. The name of the group is super easy, Teachers of Else. Or you could find me, Emma Dukhovny, send me a friend request. I think that my friend requests are over limit, but find me. Or you could look at my educational content that I am recording. I try to record as much as possible. Um, if I know what your interests are, what your challenges are, what is it that you want me to look deeper into and help you with, shoot me an email and say, Emma, look, here's the situation. I do not judge. Judge free zone. That's what's so special about our group, right? Or our community.
Yes.
There's no judgment, judge free, right? Everyone is a human being. We are here to learn. We're here to support each other. Shoot me an email, Emma, number four, teachers of else at gmail.com. Emma, Emma for teachersofelse@gmail.com, or find me on Facebook, Emma Dukhovny. Join our group, Teachers of Else, and join us on TikTok as a fan, right? Join, you have a
I'll
new
be
fan.
there.
I will be your fan. You will be my fan.
As you mentioned before we started recording, you already invited me to New York, so I'm on my way.
Mi
I'll be
casa
there
es tu
tomorrow.
casa. Please come over. I will welcome you with my open arms. Always welcome as a part of my family, right?
Yes. And you'll show me
Please
where all the
come.
good food is, right? That's the most important thing.
I am a great cook. You will not be disappointed. Maybe we'll make something together,
Oh
right? They
God,
say
never mind,
cooks
never
at the,
mind.
at the kitchen.
I have been cooking a little bit more. I do know how to make pancakes at least, so we've got that
That's
far.
perfect. That's perfect. By the way, uh, teachers oftentimes ask me, how do I create a positive class environment, and how do I manage behaviors? Food is your answer. Food is
Oh,
your answer.
yes.
Make
That's how to win me over for sure.
multicultural feast in your class, or maybe even in your school.
Yes.
Think bigger, don't think smaller, right? You're the change agent. Invite families, invite everyone. Celebrate diversity, celebrate
Absolutely.
individualism, celebrate uniqueness. That's what unites us, right? We are so much more the same rather than not, right? We have so many similarities between us.
Yeah.
Make this one big table filled with different kinds of food. Come together, break bread together, laugh, enjoy, connect, build
Yep.
relationships.
My stomach is growling.
I'm waiting for you in New York. I'm waiting for you in New York.
I'll be there soon. All right. Thank you so much, Emma. This has been such a great conversation. I love hearing all of your stories and really being able to pinpoint, those spots where we're seeing the data culture and the data literacy and the data visualization. Just beautiful. I love everything you said. So thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for everything you do. I look forward to meeting you again sometime soon. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, my friend, did you enjoy it? I'm really hoping the answer is yes. And like every other podcast out there, I'm going to ask you for some big favors. Can you please make sure that you're subscribed? You don't want to miss the next episode, I promise. And then if you could leave a review, that'd be awesome too. If you're on YouTube, by the way, there's this great thing that you can do where you just go to the box underneath the video and type in your thoughts, ideas, wishes, hopes, dreams, and hit comment. And it shows up under the video. It is public, just a warning. But I'd really love for you to do that. Share with me. What did you think about the episode? Or what are your dreams in life? It's okay. You can really leave any kind of comment. And I'll do my best to respond. Above all else, I appreciate you listening, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day.